If you've ever wondered why Meyer Family Cellars makes a Cabernet called Spitfire, you're about to find out. From Perfectly Paired, Spitfire Meyer. In my garage, there is a 1928 Ford Model A pickup truck, original forest green and black with solid oak side rails. To the knowledgeable eye, every detail is as true as when the truck came off the factory assembly line. Tan leather bench seat, no seat belts, rearview mirror with an embedded clock, wood spoke wheels, tired and hard rubber, removable canvas top, hand-operated windshield wipers. Even the hand crank starter mechanism is intact and still working, though a battery-operated electric starter has been added to save unskilled hands and wrists from accident when the transmission kicks the hand crank back. The only other addition to this classic vehicle is a bold black message engraved on the side rails: Spitfire Meyer Trucking. Justin rarely expressed an interest in having or owning anything. Clothes were a necessary utility. He owned a few precious books, a fly fishing rod or two, a shotgun to scare away the flickers that pounded holes in the house every spring and fall, and his banjo. We had a wine collection in the cellar below the house. That was about it. But every once in a while, we would be driving down the road, and he would see an old Model A. His eyes would go dreamy. "I would really love to have a truck like that someday," he would say. Then his voice would go soft, as if he were talking with himself. "Probably too expensive. Sure would be fun. Just drive it around the valley. Maybe someday." I decided to organize a big party at Silver Oak for Justin's 50th birthday. This was not a surprise party because I wanted his full participation in creating the guest list, menu, and other elements. But I did want to give Justin one big surprise. I called his cousin, Dick Kaler, who was a serious car buff, a great researcher, well-connected in the San Francisco Bay Area, and always a willing accomplice to anything fun. Justin and Dick had worked on old cars when they were teenagers together. When I asked Dick if he would help me find an old Model A pickup truck for Justin, he was delighted. To my surprise, it didn't take him long to find one in mint condition in the Bay Area. I drove down, inspected the truck, and wrote the check. Dick kept the truck and the secret until the party. Silver Oak had two massive arched redwood doors that opened into the tasting room. Visitors and guests would enter through the right door only, the left normally remaining fixed in position. Midway through the party, I gave Dick a signal and he took off to get the car out of its hiding place, while I quietly unlatched the left door. When I heard the unmistakable sound of an old four-piston engine, I swung both doors wide open, and Dick drove the 1928 Model A right into the tasting room, where the party was in full swing. Justin's eyes went wide with amazed delight, and the crowd cheered. I will always remember that moment. He was thrilled, and so was I. Dick moved over, and Justin jumped into the driver's seat. He backed it up and took the Model A for a spin around the winery front entrance. His delight and disbelief lasted for days. I too got a surprise that evening, because when I bought the truck, it lacked side rails. Now it sported not only rails, but that striking engraving, and thereby hangs the tale. Shortly after Justin and I married, he joined his friends Ed Shue and Dave Nickerson at the corner bar, the Oak Rail, for a drink after work. They noticed a somewhat inebriated patron hanging around the pool table, making foul-mouthed comments that were disturbing to a young couple who was trying their best to ignore him. Justin got up, went over to the intoxicated fellow, and suggested that he settle down and stop offending the young woman. He did not settle down. Instead, he followed Justin to the bar and delivered yet another string of expletives. Justin's account of what happened next was brief. The guy walked up and started in on me. I don't remember exactly what he said, but the next thing I knew, I was throwing him out the door. Frankly, I thought it was cool that my new husband had stood up for the young woman who was just trying to play pool. It gave me the feeling that if anyone ever messed with me, Justin would step in immediately. Justin, though, was feeling a bit embarrassed about it. Growing up in Bakersfield, he had seen and participated in plenty of fights in bars, schools, and other places. He thought he had left that rough way of being behind him, so he felt sheepish about being involved in a bar brawl in our neighborhood. It was quite a contrast to how people saw him as a true gentleman who was respectful, polite, and kind to all, except drunks, apparently. Justin's contrite feelings were not exactly shared by his friend Ed Shue. From then on, Ed dubbed him Spitfire Meyer and never ceased teasing him about throwing that guy out of the bar. Dave Nickerson, who was also in the bar with Justin and Ed that night, was the one who joined with the cellar staff to commission the side rails and engrave them. Today, Meyer Family Cellars produces a Napa Valley Cabernet called Spitfire in remembrance of Justin's readiness to defend the honor of a lady. So, when you feel like you would like to defend the honor of a lady, you can celebrate with a little Meyer Family Cellars Spitfire Cabernet Sauvignon. I think it's time to take this baby for a joyride. Why don't you come along with me? This is Bonny Meyer, Divine Conversations.